and gentlemen, the So What Morning Show is back in the building with yet another riveting topic. You know what we do. Oh, the engineers are loving the beats. They in there like grinding with us. Listen, get to your phone lines because we will be taking calls today. I know we don't do that very often, but we will be taking calls today at 855-878-4652. That's 855-878-4652. Follow us on Twitter at TRadioV or follow me personally at Zoe Williams. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your thoughts. We're going to be asking some really heavy questions. Today's topic is nuts, but as is commonplace, community empowerment. We've got two entrepreneurs in the building right now that are doing some major things in the game. I'm going to go really quickly to my left. I've seen this sister grow. I've seen her do some heavy things. She's dope. She's dedicated, she's tenacious, she's connected to the hood. She keeps her dreams alive by executing them. She's a cold piece of work. Her name is Lori Carter. Man, you gotta support her. Lord have mercy, Jesus. I've seen her go far. Give her that microphone. Welcome to the show, Lori. Tell these folks what you do.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you. I call myself a juice master.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we make fresh juices.
Yes.
We sell books. Selling books are still very important.
In her own store.
Yes,
juices
sir.
And a bookstore.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Thank you.
Carson, where can they find it?
We're in Carson. We're across the street from the Carson Mall. Our address is 940 East Dominguez. We're at Suite K.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our new location.
Mm-hmm.
Our previous location of Smiley's Bookstore had been there since 1993.
Mm-hmm.
So our new location, some people think we closed, but we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
We've just expanded.
You see?
Yes.
You see? I love it. And all types of authors have been there, like Iyanla Vanzant.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. This is dope.
Well, Smiley's has history. You know, it was 1993 when it was established.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a time when the African-American author wasn't welcomed the way that we are today in the big box bookstores.
Wow.
So it was created as an outlet for local authors.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
we've just kept that alive.
Well, I love sisters. I love entrepreneurs. I love success stories. She's one.
Thank you.
Please go support her movement. Once again, do you have a website that the global audience can go connect to?
Yes, absolutely. We are Juicy Juice, and we
Juice C Juice.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we primarily use our Facebook and our Instagram, preferably so we can interact with the customers.
Oh, well, what are those handles?
We're at facebook.com. You do the /, and it's JCJ Carson for Juicy Juice Carson. We do a / Smiley's Bookstore. And then for Instagram, it's Juice C Juice.
Wow.
For Twitter, it's Juice C Juice.
Please go support her right now. Let her know that she's welcomed by all of you out there. This is how we build our community from the ground up. We recycle black dollars.
Yes, sir.
She has a viable black business that needs to be supported. If you're a real man and you see a good woman like this doing it the way she's doing it, you got to support her. Juicy Juice. All over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Please support her. And if you're in the Los Angeles area, Carson is where she's located.
Yes.
One more time, address?
940 East Dominguez Street, Suite K in Carson.
Beautiful. And over to the homeboy Hassan McCullough. You know him. You've seen him. I know a lot of my fans are actually supporting you because they hit me. And they say, yo, man, I got some juice because you said go support that brother. We Juice is in the building. Tell us what we're looking at right now.
This week we're doing the energy line. So I have 3 different lines, but this is the energy promotion today. So we have Baby I'm a Star. We have stuff with strawberry blueberry,
lemonade,
carrot, lemon. We have different variety of energy drinks that you can have that's good natural juices.
Now, 5 Hour Energy stole my word, yummification. Let's see if they steal this word, liqueferious. We've got strawberry burst, apple, pear, parsley, and strawberry. And there's no There's no additives. This is just juiced
Just
up, put in a
natural
bottle.
juice.
Wow.
That's it.
Again, go support Hassan McCullough. We juice. They trying to get you off the drugs called sugar, called flour, called all that nasty shit that keeps us fat and obese and lethargic. They trying to change the game. 2 businesses that you should support right now. With that said, I need to go to a video really quickly. This brother here, by the name of Wilbert Smith, PhD, became a filmmaker, became an author after he got his master's degree in art and his PhD in business, with a story that was mind-blowing. This brother here had a hole in his head and kept it a secret. He was tested. Like Tuskegee, he was tested. And he kept this hat on his head, didn't let nobody know, until he talked to this man for the last 20 years of his life. And his story has got to get out. If you don't go buy this book, I don't want you to listen to the show no more. The Incredible True Story, Hole in the Head, A Life Revealed, Wilbert Smith, PhD. Show me a little piece of this video so you can understand the depth of this story. Go there now.
They had a little round beanie they put on our heads, and then 2 girls stood behind a LED screen, and they pushed a button, and it seemed like I saw some flashes. And she told the other nurse, "Oh my God, I've given him too much."
Make a joyful noise unto the Lord.
I think any sort of description of what has occurred and what Virtus lives with on a daily basis is nothing short of incredible.
Are you angry?
No. Because if you're angry, that means your heart's not right.
If you're angry, that means your heart's not right. If you don't go study, because I had to promote this because of today's topic. If you don't forgive, if you stay angry, that means your heart's not right. Go get this book right now. He hid a shocking secret under a wig for 71 years. The man was experimented on, among others. Bobby Glanton Smith, Real Men Don't Play. Go get this book today. You know he's on the show. You know how he does. RealMenDon'tPlay.com. Go get this book, The Manuscript for Manhood. My book, The Rebirth of Seeds. This book represents a few books left in the last box of books I have. I don't know when I'm going to reprint them. Please, IamZoeWilliams.com. Get there right now. IamZoeWilliams.com. Reserve your order now, or you're going to be caught out there because I don't know when I'm going to, re-up on these. But I will be signing and autographing and personalizing it for you. Go there now. IamZoeWilliams.com. Also, Hole in the Head DVD. Don't play yourself. Go get this work, man. You can see the man's whole entire story. Very powerful, moving thing. Again, Dr. Mark Goulston, Just Listen. Please get his book as well. You know these books. Really quickly, I have a few more books that I need you guys to get that's based off of today's topic. The Power of Self-Forgiveness, Tom Rutledge. Guilt is the teacher, love is the lesson, Joan Borysenko. Healing and Recovery, David R. Hawkins, MD. Couple of books from him. Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, David R. Hawking. Transcendence, The Levels of Consciousness, The Stairway to Enlightenment, David R. Hawking. Last David R. Hawking book. Power versus Force. Quincy Jones told me to get this book, and I'm telling you to get it right now. Same guy, David R. Hawkins. We got the books out of the way. Now, Ramo Mart. Get to Ramo Mart. Please support this brother's work. His art is incredible. The shirts are off the chart. And when I tell you, the high-end clothing line that he has coming is crazy. You can't imagine how dope it is, man. RamoMart.com. Continue to support that brother. Easy Boy Web. You need a website? You need some social media management? These guys do it all. Based out of Atlanta, They're on the internet. Go get it. Blackmastery.com. What is Black Mastery? Oh, it's only narrated by Iyanla Vanzant. It's a neurolinguistic program that undoes Willie Lynch, that undoes Jim Crow and defeatist mentalities that pervade the black community. Blackmastery.com. Go get it and change your life today. I'm supporting black businesses. And with that said, we're taking a break, but when we come back, topics, questions, guests, the Zo What Morning Show, off the chain already. I'll holler at you in a minute. Deuces!
Please, don't worry so much. Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish. Think of me. And make your life spectacular. I know I did.
And one of the greatest tragedies in life is getting to the end of your life and looking back and realizing it was mediocre. What's important to the other person.
But what if you could be someone who dared to care about everybody in your life?
When you're in love, smoke gets in your eyes. But when you're anxious, you talk more than you listen.
I asked my wife a month ago, I said, I don't know whether to have an affair or buy a motorcycle. And she said, if you have an affair, I'll kill you. If you get the motorcycle, you'll kill yourself. Go with the bike.
Dr. G.
I wrote a blog last week for Psychology Today, and it was called Robin Williams Did Not Die from Depression. And it got a lot of interest on the internet. I was a suicide specialist the first 10 years of my practice. And actually this book, Just Listen, the heart of it was, you have to search for it, was getting through to highly suicidal people. And at one point, about a third of the people I saw were actively suicidal. And what changed for me was going inside their world. And there was one woman who had tried suicide 4 times and been in the hospital 3 months every year for 4 years. And I was seeing her. And what happened when I was seeing her, she never made eye contact, and I had been up for 48 hours. And so your mind gets a little wiggy, you know, when you're up for 48 hours. When I was with her, suddenly all the color in the room turned to black and white, and then the black and white just turned into this darkness. Wow. And I thought I was having a seizure or a stroke, so I did a neurologic on myself. I'm going like this, and she's staring like this, and I never made a connection with her. And then what happened is I realized that I wasn't having a stroke or a seizure, but I'd gone into her world, and I leaned into it, and I saw the dark night of the soul, and it was awful. It was terrible, and I leaned into it more and more and more, and because I was overtired, I blurted something out that normally I wouldn't, and I said to her, Nancy, I didn't know it was so bad, and I can't help you kill yourself. But if you do, I will still think well of you. Wow. I'll miss you. And maybe I'll understand why you had to. And I thought, I think I just gave her permission to do it. You know, don't write that in the record. And that was the first time she looked at me. I mean, I'd seen her for 8 months, and that was the longest she'd gone without an attempt. And she's looking at me. And when I looked into her eyes and she looked into my eyes, I realized I had gotten it right. And I said, what are you thinking? And I thought she was going to say, thank you for letting me do it. I'm a little bit overtime because I've tried it 4 times. And she looked at me and she smiled and she said, if you can really understand why I might have to kill myself. Maybe I won't need to.
Wow.
And then the room came back, and she came back. She got a PhD, had a couple kids. So part of what I wrote about with Robin Williams is that he died of despair. And if you think of the word despair as DESPAIR, it means unpaired.
Mm-hmm.
And so people who have highly suicidal thinking, and I'm speaking at the University of Alabama in a month on suicide, they feel unpaired with hope, so they feel hopeless. They feel unpaired with worth. They feel worthless. They feel unpaired with help. They feel helpless. And what happens is if you can pair with them, they'll stop pairing with death, because they start to pair with death because that takes all the pain away. But in order to do that, you got to get in there with them. And if you get in there with them, they may reach across and let you take their hand, and you might save a life.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, the setup is in place. Today's topic, the dark night of the soul. A deeper look into the nation's prolonged crisis with suicide and depression on the So What Morning Show. Thank you, Dr. Goulston, for the setup. As is commonplace, questions, and then I'll be introducing the guests in the building. This is going to be pretty powerful right now. For young African American men, is the act of joining a gang synonymous with committing suicide? 855-878-4652. Somebody call in right now. Is it possible to commit ideological suicide? And is that beneficial? Does one have to, say, maybe kill the ego? Does ego and the desire to hold on to it feed into the desire to want to take one's life? I don't know. 855-878-4652. We've got questions. Is it possible for an oppressed people to become a depressed people? And if so, could this depression lead to higher rates of suicide amongst that community? 855-878-4652. Somebody call us. It's about to get crazy up in here, I tell you. True or false? In this country, in America, there are one suicide every 17 minutes. There's a suicide every 17 minutes. Is that true or false? And if it's true, what in the world are we doing in America that's promoting this kind of response to the society? Is it a desire to fit in and be normal? Is normal the reason a lot of people are committing suicide? The pursuit of it? How about it? 855-878-4652 is the number to dial. Couple more questions, and then we're going to introduce everyone. What is suicide by police? How about it? He made me kill him. Is that possible when someone is unarmed? Maybe they have a butter knife, and you're dressed like SWAT with a tank with 17 of your comrades. Are you all scared and must shoot him dead? How about it? 855-878-4652. True or false? Very deep question. It's easier to live than it is to die. 855-878-4652. All right, questions are done. We've got guests in the building right across from me. You know who he is. He's old. He's ornery. He's amazing. He's my uncle. Uncle Bobby G in the building. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Do you really mean that?
No, I do. I love you to
What
death.
an introduction.
Old and ornery. You gonna get the truth every time.
Get your old ass on the microphone.
You understand?
Good to be here, brother.
Sitting directly next to him. Yes, are you ready, Jeanette?
I am.
Yes? Jeanette, I'm going to let her.
Jeanette Marie.
Jeanette Marie. Now, pull up her website so they can see. Tell them who you are and what you do. This is beautiful. Speak to us, Jeanette Marie.
Well, my name is Jeanette Marie, and I work for God. I'm a medium, clairvoyant, clairaudient. I'm also a sound healer, cranial sacral practitioner, Reiki master. I teach, certify. I also teach meditation, and I'm a life coach.
We need to know what Robin Williams is thinking now. I'm just going to put it out there.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't know what Robin Williams is thinking now, but I can guarantee you that in this moment he is in a state of bliss, of happiness
Wow.
with God.
Right next to her, Corey Holcomb, Black Jesus 5150. Oh my God. He gonna tell the truth this evening. He gonna tell the truth. Corey, what's happening, man? Here we go.
That's how it starts.
No, I'm just saying, I tell you right now, Robert Williams ain't thinking about shit. Not a goddamn
Corey Holcomb, he's going to make it funny. He's going to make it uncomfortable, but we love him. That's what he does. Next to him, author of Just Listen, Dr. Mark Goulston. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You good? Intellectual irritant and overall irritant. You're just irritating guy. Jeff Brown in the building right now. What up, Jeff? Welcome to the show, man. What's happening?
I don't know if you want to hear what I got to say about all this here.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to put it out there. Don't say what I'm saying, you know.
Miss Behar.
Yes.
Tell them who you are and where they can find you.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Bahar, and I am located in Southern California, Newport Beach, and I work with clients who are dealing with a lot of suicidal ideation and actual threats and attempts.
Wow. And of course, you already met Lori Carter, owner, proprietor of Juicy Juice, in the building. Let's get into it. Let's look at the American community right now. You know, Ferguson is happening. Brother Mike Brown is being laid to rest today. Can we say, and I'm going to ask the doctors this too, is depression a direct highway, super highway to suicidal thoughts? That's the first question. Is that true?
Would you like me to start?
Let's go.
Okay. Well, I would say that untreated depression is definitely a access to suicidal ideation.
Mm-hmm.
And in answer to your question, because part of that highway is hopelessness, that would be a key factor in suicidal ideation as well as attempts.
Dr. G?
Not all depressed people are suicidal, but most suicidal people, struggle with depression that just didn't go away.
Bobby?
I'm beginning to believe that prescription of medication is beginning to contribute more and more to the number of suicidal attempts.
I have an alternative means for treatment.
Weed?
No, not weed. Weed. Weed's too easy. No, weed's too easy. Some of these people are advanced cases, especially somebody from Orange County that's depressed. If you can find a way to be depressed in Orange County, I think you should be forced to spend a year in the Sudan. I think tribal lords chasing you with machetes. I think a lot of people here in America have a twisted view of what they're depressed about. You need to go somewhere where not only can you not find food, your ass is being hunted. And then come back.
Wow. Jeff, Corey, lay it out there before we go to break.
I'm just saying, people who are thinking of committing suicide, even though they may be our loved ones, they are the weak of society, and it's actually a little better if they get the fuck on up out of here. I hate people who attempt suicide and don't get it done. You are fucking up the rotation.
Oh, my God.
But can I just say, are they weak or are they courageous to still keep going and not do it when everything in their being is telling them to let go?
That's a good question.
And
We'll be
surrender.
back. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just getting started. Oh, so what morning?
Got arms with no hands is attached. Surveillance cameras that catch you. If you're reckless with a gun, that's a quick lesson. You getting spotted like you need a help bench pressing.
If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight.
You better do it. Do it. Do it now. No, I don't want to die. On the left.
You see, we have made life into a hideous thing, living. Life has become a battle, which is an obvious fact. Constant fight. And we have divorced that living from death. We separate death as something horrible, something to be frightened about. And we say, and to us this living, which is misery, is we accept. If we didn't accept this existence as misery, then life and death are the same movement. Like love, death, and living are one. One must totally die to find what love is. And to go into this question of what is death, what lies beyond death, whether there is reincarnation, whether there is a resurrection, all that becomes rather meaningless if you don't know how to live. If the human being knows how to live in this world without conflict, then death has quite a different meaning.
Never believe fully in anybody else's BS. I don't care if it's Roger Nish, the Pope, L. Ron Hubbard, Al Gore, George Bush, or I don't care who it is. Don't swallow all their belief system totally. Don't accept all of their bullshit, all their BS. The second rule is like unto the first. Don't believe totally in your own BS, which means that, as Bucky Fuller said, the universe consists of non-simultaneously apprehended events. Non-simultaneously. The universe consists of non-simultaneously apprehended events, which means any belief system or reality tunnel you've got right now is going to have to be revised and updated as you continue to apprehend new events later in time, not simultaneously. This is the natural functioning of the human brain. It's the way children's brains perform before they're wrecked by the school system. It's the way the minds of all great scientists and artists work. But once you have a belief system, everything that comes in either gets ignored if it doesn't fit the belief system, or it gets distorted enough so that it can fit into the belief system. You got to be continually revising your map of the world.
And suicidal thoughts can include you voices or I voices. You should kill yourself, or I should kill myself. But there's two types of suicidal thoughts, passive and active. People like myself have passive suicidal thoughts, and I have them constantly, always triggered by stress. It's pretty rare for me to have them without stress. And I'll have a thought such as, I wish someone would run their car into my body and kill me. And in the past, scared me to death. Now I know it means that I'm sick. Those are passive thoughts. I wish someone. The active thoughts are what are so dangerous. Those are the thoughts of, I want to die, and here's how I'm going to do it. And you have this elaborate plan, and you can see yourself dead. You can see yourself either getting back at somebody or getting rid of your pain. Those are the dangerous ones. But what everybody needs to know is that these thoughts are common with depression. They are a symptom of the illness, just like having muscle problems is a symptom of MS. They can be controlled, and they don't have to be listened to.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Today's topic, the dark night of the soul. Can just living in a society like America, it's competitive, it's contentious, we speak of avarice, greed, selfishness. I mean, you know what bothers me? You know, when like even owing something, right? If you owe anything to the government, they want their money plus interest, and they want it now. And they will take you to jail over it, right? There's like no forgiveness. Like, look at the college students. As soon as they graduate, if they're not on scholarship, they come out of the school system burdened with debt, which forces them into the educational system or into the economic system, and being forced into a system that doesn't have any jobs for you. I mean, there are a lot of people who die or commit suicide over money, over lack of opportunity. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So is America feeding this suicidal thought process that's happening? 31,000 deaths a year? One every 17 minutes? Speak to that, guest.
You know, I think one of the, I used to be a lot more down than I am now. And one of the things that helped me, and my philosophy in life now is, I have high hopes, but I have no expectations that anything will ever turn out right.
Wow.
So
say more.
Well, what I realize is when I start to have expectations, as soon as it doesn't turn out, I could be disappointed, I could be devastated, I could be depressed. And so, and I think, America is the land of false expectations.
Wow.
And so it's possible to have a lot of hope, but as soon as you start having expectations, you start setting yourself up, you get attached to it, and then when it doesn't happen, you have to deal with either being depressed, devastated, or disappointed.
Corey.
But hey, Doc, let me
And
ask
then
you,
Jeff.
do you believe in faith?
Why don't you say what you believe in?
No. That's a good question. I know exactly what you're saying. This is the law of attraction. This is intentionality that Corey is bringing. That's a hell of a point.
I was listening to what he said, and faith was missing. Like what you said, I get it, but that's why I asked you, do you believe in faith?
I have trouble with this faith and spirituality stuff. Although
I'm talking about church.
Okay.
Right. No. I know.
Damn church.
No,
We ain't talking about that.
I have faith that there is more goodness in people than, but it gets locked in. I think if the goodness in people could be freed from the internal stranglehold from themselves and the world, everything would change. I
don't have the healthiest
And then-
mind.
And then
And
We know,
there are
Jeff.
people here who would argue that.
Here comes the sickness.
I don't have the healthiest mind. But
Here comes the sickness.
I cannot aim myself at having no expectation for shit. I can't.
Say more. Say more.
Okay. I think it's better to gird yourself up to expect that some of this ain't gonna come out like you expect it to come out, and understand that shit happens, as opposed to going, you know what, I'm hopeful, but I don't expect shit. All right, you go to school today, kids. I'm hopeful y'all gonna do good, but I don't expect that the principal ain't gonna call me and tell me one of y'all done bit somebody's ear off or some shit. I can't live like that.
I like to think about, your shit happens to shift happens. And when we come back into the embodiment of light language, which is our primal code, which is our God-given light working language, that all things possible as long as I am staying true to my truest nature, authentic to its truest being things, and detach myself from the materialistic ego of it, henceforth the society is it working against us or for us, and I allow for all things just to be what they are, and just release and surrender to that higher purpose, I find that more things come and enter into my life. Does that help or aid the depression? I'm not clear as a whole, but I will say I think there's a huge similarity there, yes.
I agree with you. I think the essential piece to all of this, that depression actually can propel someone to get to a point of what we call in the therapeutic environment radical acceptance, which is actually fully, spiritually, mentally, and physically accept reality as it is, which is an access point to decrease the dependence on ourselves to save ourselves from ourselves.
Corey?
I mean, what I'm just saying is, people who are willing to kill themselves, they are obviously people who have no faith. So when I was saying jokingly about, let's get the weak out of here, I'm just saying, if you don't have faith, what are you doing? You can't help mankind. You're just somebody who's just out here in the way. Wow. That's why I think that some people want to kill themselves, and I'm not rooting for them to kill themselves, but the quicker you get it done, the better.
You said natural selection. You just get up out of here. Yeah. Okay, we have a special guest on the line, Diane Renz. That's how we pronounce it? Diane, welcome to the So What Morning Show. Please come in and give us some clarity. Is suicide ultimately a selfish act? Somebody speak to that. Diane?
Hello. Nice to be a part of this. I'm sorry I haven't heard what you all have been saying.
Oh, it's been crazy.
Because I would love to be in the dialogue in full, but I just got online. So is suicide, your question is suicide ultimately a selfish act?
Yes.
Well, suicide's on a continuum. So there are various types of suicide. There's assisted suicide if somebody has a progressive illness that they don't want their family to suffer. I guess you could look at that and say, wow, well, that's not selfish at all. But let's go back to the basics of, if we're looking at a clinical depression, we're looking at somebody who's locked into a self-oriented rumination that has very little to do with anybody else. And there's not a lot of ability to understand what's going to be the impact of that suicide, that end of life, on everybody else. So in that sense, it can be very, very selfish. But bottom line, it becomes a communication. And what is the communication of that particular act? What could have been said? And I often ask people when they're saying that they're feeling suicidal, I ask them what needs to die.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you this, Diane? Can I ask you this? Can suicide be used as a type of revenge?
Oh, yeah.
To exact some kind of revenge on someone. Can you speak to that, Diane?
Well, I mean, I want to be so careful. I don't know who's listening, and
the world.
You know, the bottom line is to preserve life that is thriving, not just to survive, but to thrive. And yes, I will say that would be the case. And I'm thinking of adolescents often have an imagination that they're going to do something known as suicide. I'm going to kill myself, and then you'll really care about me. Then you'll really get what my pain was all about. The problem is, the person that's saying that never gets to see the show, you know.
Wow.
So I try to let them know that's a final solution, and you don't get the pleasure that you're looking for. Bottom line, you're looking for communication. You're looking for some kind of longing to connect and to be seen, heard, recognized.
Hey, Doc, question. And we'll take this when we come back from the break. Do you think that failed suicide is just a desperate attempt for attention?
Ooh, great. And we'll take that answer when we come back. Zoa Mornings is crazy. We're going to talk about everything that you uncomfortable with. You think we scared? You wrong. We're going to keep doing it. I'll at you in a minute. Dude.
Have-nots, for the have-nots to believe has lies. The haves keep having, have-nots are grabbing for a fraction of the action while the haves keep fracking. You can't blame them. Stimulate the spirit of the city, getting higher than marijuana.
It's never been done before, you say. It's been done by every tribe in history. Every tribe facing annihilation. All the Indians of the Amazon are doing it right now. They refuse to bring any babies into the world. They kill every child that comes into the world because they don't want to live in this kind of a world. So be patient, be patient. Death is, I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear, I don't care how many anguished cries. Death is a million times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight. Death is common to people. And the Eskimos, they take death in their stride. Let's be dignified. If you're quick, tell them they're dying. If you adults would stop some of this nonsense, adults, I call on you to stop this nonsense. I call on you to quit exciting your children when all they're doing is going to quiet rest. I call on you to stop this now. If you have any respect at all, are we black, proud, and socialist, or what are we? Now stop this nonsense. Don't carry this on anymore. You're exciting your children.
It was like nothing else.
They called themselves Heaven's Gate, a cult started in the 70s by a man named Marshall Applewhite, who later called himself Doe.
And let me say that our mission here at this time is about to come to a close.
Doe told his followers the earth is simply a garden to grow souls, and he could teach them how by following his strict regimen. All aspects of life were regulated, including what books they could read and what TV shows they could watch. Once the soul is developed, it's time to exit. To outsiders, that meant committing suicide. But to them, it meant moving on to a more developed kingdom. A spaceship or UFO, he told the group, would pick up their souls and take them to begin their new lives. This is what their new life form would resemble.
It is suicide to not leave. It is to take life to leave this body behind.
D'Angelo bought in. Doe instructed the group to look for a sign. It came to them in the night sky. 1997 was the year of the Hale-Bopp comet. In late March of that year, as the comet grew brighter, Doe became convinced the comet was the sign to shed their bodies and exit Earth. Members taped farewell messages.
To finish up your website right now, and that we might see you all again, and then we might not, but we hope that you remember us as we were, and not how other people are going to try and tell you that we are. And one last thing we'd like to say is 39 to beam up. Thank you.
39 people killed themselves? Well, they created a poison using pudding and applesauce. They laced it with vodka and a drug called phenobarbital, a barbiturate fatal in large doses. They took the poison in shifts and went to sleep, never to wake up. D'Angelo filmed what he saw, the uniformity eerie and striking. They were all in identical positions, face up on a mattress.
Very powerful footage. What does God have to say about suicide? You know? What does God have to say? I think a lot of people commit suicide because of religious beliefs. There is a, come on, Catholicism, I think, is a dogmatic form of grief. It dogmatizes grief. That's why you're in constant, perpetual search of forgiveness, of, you know, some type of. No, go ahead.
But isn't that the message of Christ? I think we got it all twisted. I think that the message of Christ is about the freedom, the love, the light language, forgiveness, kindness, gentle, all people coming together in a sense of unity
They
and
stopped
harmony.
teaching that a long time ago.
But they're saying otherwise. They're saying, let me brainwash you to thinking this way and this way only.
But are we
that is not what God is about.
brainwashed by religion? Religion's an
Absolutely,
institution.
absolutely.
And we've become institutionalized by all forms of religion, right?
Absolutely. But also God says, pick up the word and come into the closet with me, meaning pray, meditate, be with me. Let my spirit speak to you.
Right.
You know.
So when you come out the closet.
That's a rainbow you need, honey. You need some rainbow for that.
No. Okay, that ain't all. That ain't all. That unless there's another book we're discussing.
Okay, come
that
on.
Christ discussed.
That's right.
I think he also discussed treating your slave master in a light that would make God see himself in you and make the slave master see God in you, and that he'd treat you nicer.
Well, let's think of it even deeper than that. God, his only begotten Son, right?
Yeah.
Is that not infanticide? I'm going to give up my son. And then on Jesus's part, is that not Jesus committing suicide because he has the power to save himself?
Because I'm so rough with my shit,
Jesus
you can't
is
come
God.
to me.
Jesus is God.
So
So in and of itself, he said, no more death, no more sacrilegious, no more negative thought processes that have to be committed here.
So
you
if
can
we follow
actually
the
walk.
story, if
Then
we
Jesus, then God killed himself.
Then God killed himself. God committed
but
suicide,
life
right?
is eternal.
So he didn't kill himself?
Physically, he did.
I mean,
Okay,
that's
all right,
that's it.
all right,
But
all
you
right.
understand
That's
what
what
I'm
I was
saying?
talking about, wasn't it?
I believe that religion has a very negative impact.
And a romance with death.
Yeah. Yes. Corey?
And life.
But I'm saying, like, no matter what somebody believes religiously, once you die, nobody has proof of what happens. Nobody.
So you're saying that no one has a gift.
Physical, empirical proof.
Because let me just say this. I believe that there is a source beyond physical existence.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe that there's a power, and it ain't religious. It's not dogmatic. It's none of that.
Can't put it
And
in
I
words.
believe that some human beings have access to that source and have access to that expanded knowledge beyond our experience.
Absolutely.
I believe that.
Absolutely.
Okay, but let me ask you this. When you say you believe, that's one thing, but fact is another. I just want to point that out.
Agree. Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question.
Wait. Bobby has a story, and this is a very powerful story. Bobby, I know this is tough. Speak to this, bro.
Well, it would have been a lot tougher, but for something Corey said earlier, originally in jest, but I know Corey long enough to know that a part of him feels that way about certain things. He ain't gonna speak on it unless he feels truly about it. When he said there's a weakness in suicide, I've been struggling with this issue for 17 and a half years because I had a nephew by the name of Darrell Lamont Smith. They used to call him Radio because he reminded people of Bill Nunn, Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing. And 17 and a half years ago, I had a phone call. He's the young man to the right on the screen.
It's Bobby's nephew.
Yeah, and that's my mother in the center. But anyway, what happened was I got a phone call from my mother, and she said, Darryl Smith is dead. And this is at a period where a lot of young people were involved with gang killings and that kind of thing. I was just certain somebody had took his life. And my sister called me a few minutes later, and I said, who did it? Who killed Darryl? She said, did nobody kill him? He took his own life. And I wasn't at home. I was over at a friend's house, and I drove around for like 3 hours. And I was only about a mile from home. And I just couldn't find my way home. I went into shock. And by the time I got home, it was just a numb feeling because it just did not make sense. At his funeral on a Monday, he was a student at Middle Tennessee State University in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Rainy Monday, 600 kids came to this young man's funeral. They read proclamation. It was about 300 beautiful young girls. He had a little son, 3 years old, Trey at the time. Lipstick all over him. All these girls just kissing all of him, loving on him. And I'm looking at this boy in a casket. And it was related to a relationship he had with a young lady. He had done got a couple of credit cards, trying to keep up with the Joneses and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of factors involved. But at the end of the day, the preacher got up and he said, let me tell you something about suicide. He said, most people that want to commit suicide, they really don't want to die. They want to kill the pain. And I wanted to believe, okay, that was just maybe an instance where he gave into the pain. But that had to been a little more deeply rooted than that. And because of something Corey said, and this done took me 17 and a half years of like, I don't know, I can't even describe to you how that feels, because he was like my son to me. And I went through a period of depression, if you want to call it that, of what could I have done, all of those things, those questions just keep coming back. He was just a well-liked young man, but there was a dark side somewhere that nobody really knew anything about. And then that affected everybody around him that loved him so much. I mean, it was just amazing. To this day, people talk about, how great a cat that he was, but he wasn't that cat to himself. And having said that and wrapping this thing up, the takeaway from just the round table of discussion today, Corey touched on something that I have to really just deal with. You can't live for nobody else. And you can't really get inside their world no more than you can do what I did that day. And I told those young people that was a symbol, I said, don't let your world get too small.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Corey?
Wow.
Speak to relationships and then Ms. Behar.
Well, no, it was I think he was talking about what I said while we was talking during the break. I just feel like any man who can't handle heartache from a woman, I don't know how long you're gonna be on this planet, because that's part of the process.
Every woman you deal with is gonna hurt you, is what you're saying.
I didn't say every woman you deal with, but I am saying
you're gonna get your heart stolen.
It's not a possibility; it's a probability. Right. I got you.
Besides death of a loved one, women will introduce you to a pain that is fucking incredible. You'll never feel another pain like this.
Wow.
Besides death of a loved one.
Wow. Behar? Hope I'm saying your last name right.
Well, I was very inspired by what Uncle Bobby was talking about. And last night, actually, Jeanette Marie would probably appreciate this too, is Robin Williams was in a film called What Dreams May Come.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
That was a powerful
film. And also
he traveled through the netherworld and purgatory and hell to go get his wife.
Only to find out that it was Cuba Gooding Jr.? What?
If you
no, actually, Cuba was his son.
Wow.
Right? And now we're talking about relationships and relationships with women.
Yeah.
And suicide and the kind of grief that comes along and the questioning of what does come after. And people like Jeanette Marie are more tapped in perhaps, but maybe we're all intuitively tapped into that. There's a knowing of what is going to happen if we do this. And if we do this, there's this intuitive sense of this is what's happening, and the reality of accepting that we can't do the work for somebody else, which is so hard.
Wow. So really quickly, do you think instead of, Dr. G, instead of sending the National Guard and this militarized police force to Ferguson, do you think it would have been better to send grief counselors?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think?
Yeah, you want to get people talking with each other. When people talk with each other, they lean into it. Too often people talk at or over each other. But when we come back after the break, I'm a medical doctor, and I want to introduce the idea about bipolar people like Hemingway, Sylvia Plath.
The geniuses. Yeah.
And often they kill themselves after they've been on a high and they see the low that's coming and they can't bear that.
Mediocrity, right.
So while they still have the energy to do it, sometimes they will kill
and when
themselves
we come back,
off of a high.
When we come back, Diane is going to be with us too. So we'll be back at 2.2. Be back in a second.
You know. From the womb to the tomb, who's in the unpredictable. Gun salute life rapidly. That's the ritual.
When I die, fuck it, I wanna go to hell. Cause I'm a piece of shit, it ain't hard to fucking tell. It don't make sense going to heaven with the goody goodies dressed in white. I like black Tims and black hoodies. Matter of fact, sick talk.
Hey, I'm Dean Cain, and you are watching T Radio V. I'm watching it too. Right now. Seriously.
Oh my God, how he has a rap career is beyond me. I don't get it. And he takes his shirt off. Oh my God, he looks like 50 pounds of chewed Tootsie Rolls with his... All right. Now, you are in white fashion. You know white boys always leave the house like they're finna help somebody move. Enlist and defend the horrible hoes. There are some horrible people. And what you need to do is start policing your own.
Here we go.
Today's rant is outside of the subject. I can't ignore this. 50 Cent, shout out to Phil, put up this, and they are very funny if you get a chance to watch them. He is snapping on Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. And he puts up this thing about Floyd Mayweather's inability to read. The backlash, the strike back from the Mayweather camp, has been showing him with all his rings, and cars, and watches, and money, and shit. And it's just vulgar. It's vulgar. It seriously points to the fact that black people worship not Jehovah, not Christ, money. Black people worship money. Ask any idiotic black fool what the answer is to somebody they like screwing up in society, and you know what they say? He getting money. That's exactly what they tell you, because that's exactly who they worship. Saying that an illiterate millionaire is well off is like saying, hey, I got a Boeing 747 and I'm flying it right now, and the only thing I know about it is that the pilot seat is in the front. There's only a matter of time before Floyd Mayweather, if he don't learn how to read, winds up just as broke as everybody else broke that you can think of when I say the words broke athlete. To say that it's okay, Floyd, I look at all your videos, and in none of these videos do I find a empty Hooked on Phonics box. Dude, find the time. Take the time to read. Floyd don't need to learn how to read, because Floyd got money, and Floyd got people that manage his money. That's exactly why Floyd needs to learn how to read, so he can check these people that's managing his money before he wind up parking cars at the same hotels he used to box in.
Well,
I'm done.
I think that's an excellent point, and I think we can tie that in, the worship of money, especially in the black community.
Well, I want to build.
Can I set it up first, Doc?
Set it up, tee it up.
And then
I'll change it.
You did right. Just listen, didn't you?
I love the passive place you come from.
No, it's just listen to me.
Right.
Ah!
I kind of want you to listen. No, but that's a great point that you're bringing up, Jeff. I think Floyd, the reason why, and I think he's a great boxer. I think he's probably the greatest ever. I think so. He's that good. He's that good. But listen, can I finish the point?
Oh my God! Okay.
Let me finish the point. Emotions, pull them in. Let's contain them.
You don't say that like Muhammad Ali.
But hear what I'm saying. I think he's one of the greatest ever. He's on
that's
par.
Different.
He's
okay,
right
he's one
there.
Of. No, he's not close. But okay.
Let me just say, when you have a person that aggrandizes the external, there is something missing internally.
Absolutely.
See, again, for him to put out a check is basically saying, this money is my meaning. Do you understand?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm balling is my meaning. But I guarantee you, if you got to know the brother, if you got close to the brother, you'll see the frailties and some emotional holes there.
He's trying to
because you can
fill.
see how he deals and manages the women he's around. You know. What's up, Bobby?
I see a case of the pot calling the kettle black, with 50 Cent being the one to.
True
to call the
indeed.
brother
I
out.
was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, true indeed.
Well, hold on. I met Floyd Mayweather, and if you never met him, I don't think you had a right to call him illiterate, and you don't know that for a fact.
Right.
Because when I met him, he didn't come across as illiterate. Yeah, he'll brag about money because that's part of his thing. That's part of his whole gist.
That's
His
the money
entertainment,
team, right.
His entertainment part. But if you don't know him and you don't know if he's illiterate, I think it's wrong to speak on it so factually.
You know what else too? Wait, you know what else too? Let me tell you this.
And one of the most generous people ever met in my
50,
life.
let me just say, 50 and Nelly, we're a little off the topic. 50 and Nelly, to me, are like girls. Because Nelly gets with his ex-girl, and they do the pillow talk, and then he comes out and says, oh, I don't listen to guys who don't have a diploma, right? And then 50 picks up on that. See, I think 50 tries to dominate his own insecurity by battling other people
50
constantly.
was kissing his ass and hanging in his camp.
Okay.
That's all you got to say.
Okay,
That's
back
it.
up. Okay, I got this to say.
Say it and get it over with so we can get back to the topic.
Else? I don't know. I don't know 50. I met Floyd. I don't know. Did anybody else hear the Hot 97 drop he was trying to read?
Yeah, I heard it.
What does that have to do with what 50 has to say? I heard that. Now, if he gonna
what happened?
What happened? He cannot.
He couldn't read. He couldn't read a 10. He couldn't read a 10-second promo drop.
It took 4 hours to read 10 seconds. That's illiteracy.
It was bad. It was bad.
And that needs to be fixed.
Were you on TV saying something on a piece of paper?
No, it's like how we used to do in the Foxhole. We'll read
Hey,
the
dude,
Bud Light.
you listening to so-and-so.
He couldn't
If
read.
you can't do that, you
means he can't
dangerous with
read.
$170 million.
Just because he couldn't read it. I mean, it was,
yes, it does.
But you know
Corey.
it's about timing. Professionals, voiceover guys have timing and know how to do that. He's a boxer.
Well, he was smart enough to get paid part of the purse when he boxes. And a lot of these
gate.
so-called reading boxers, they need to borrow some money from Floyd.
Okay, so let me do this.
Right now.
Bobby, make your statement, and then we got to go back to our guest, man.
Well, as it relates to the topic, back to the thing my man said a minute ago about don't get into nobody else's BS, because
There it is.
we got a lot of young people chasing the perception of success, whether it be a 50 Cent, whether it be a Floyd or
Yes.
whoever.
I'll
And
go
then
with
next
that.
thing you know, you're over on that edge, and it turns into a suicide by cop, or suicide by your own volition.
Mm-hmm.
So we really have to be careful moving too far away from that personal center.
Right.
How is 50 Cent smart and he got a wilding out bitch pregnant and now he paying this bitch most of the money he made off that water? How smart is that?
Oh, God.
A wilding out bitch.
Not to mention, when he
My
called him
homie
out,
was cool with
he didn't even spell it correctly. It's all
That's
over
true.
the news.
He said ELS, English as a second language. It's ALS.
Bobby brought up something really important. Bobby brought up something really important about our young people. I think what's happening with our young people is they are somebody addicts and they're nobody phobics. And what that means, and what that means is when you have a taste of being somebody and you go back to being anybody, it's the same as being nobody. I have seen people, and it's a desperate feeling. And what happens with all this Facebook and immediate celebrity, you get a taste of being somebody. It's tough to let go of it. And I think what's happening is with our young, they're nobody phobics. I can't be a nobody, and they will do whatever they can to be a somebody.
That's powerful. Nobody phobics, catch line of the day.
Wow.
Let's do this. We still got Dr. Diane on the other line, and I'm asking all of our clinicians that are here today, can suicide, the act of it, be a powerful form of activism? You've got the Tibetans doing self-immolation, setting themselves on fire because they're being occupied by China. You've got the Palestinians doing you know, bombs. They're living, walking bombs, you know. Is that a powerful means? And if so, why aren't the gangs in America, Bloods and Crips, unifying and making that kind of statement? To kill yourself for a reason as opposed to killing yourself for nothing. One is a form of genocide. You got on blue, I got on red, and I'm gonna kill you because of that. The other one is a sign of activism. Why aren't Bloods and Crips killing themselves in an activist space context rather than fighting over a turf they don't even own?
Because they don't never kill themselves. They don't. This is.
But they're killing senselessly.
Yes.
If you're gonna kill yourself, should it be killing for purpose? Killing with meaning?
This is my outcry to all the gangsters, all the black gangsters on this continent.
But let me get back to Diane. You make that point. Let me get Diane.
Okay, all right. If somebody spills black blood and cold blood in your area and you don't do nothing about it, you should have to wear pastel colors for your gang because you ain't shit. You should have to wear paisley pink because how you gonna let that go down in your hood?
So Diane, speak to me. Yes, Diane, is suicide a powerful form of activism? Speak to that.
Well, you guys have been saying so many things over there that I want to respond to all of them.
Well, get active then. You got the floor.
It's a culture that I'm not a part of, and that I certainly don't have any authority about. But from way over here, when you start talking about gangs and asking if that's a form of suicide, I know that wasn't your direct question, but I think there is also a healthy component to anybody joining any organization, because the longing is to belong. I want to belong. I want to know that I matter. I want to know that I have power. I want to know that I have expression. And unfortunately, you know, according to whatever the organization is, the acts sometimes do not empower anybody, and they create tragedy.
Wow.
So there's a big bottom line piece here that has to do with all of us, regardless of race, regardless of country, regardless of all the borders that define who we are. It has to do with our worthiness as human beings. And I know so many of your questions in your discussion here is about oppression and how is that relevant to suicide. Well, when we actually oppress the truth, which is that we are worthy people and that we matter and we need to express ourselves and be in connection, well, there's going to be a depression, and there's going to be violence, and there's going to be suicide. It's natural. It's natural because pain is natural, and pain is an indicator. I always like to tell people that pain isn't an indicator that you are a problem or that something's wrong with you. Pain is an indicator of everything that's right in you.
Wow. Yeah. Listen, Diane, for all of my listeners and followers out there that are supporting your words right now, please give them your website. And let me say this, I really appreciate your insight, your passion, and your knowledge today. You've made this show a great show. What's your website and how can they find you?
Well, you know what? I'm not interested in self-promotion, but I am interested in people finding what they need. You're not alone. Please reach out. There's amazing programs in resiliency. There's Henry Emmons, a fantastic holistic psychiatrist. There's Dan Siegel in your area, who's a great psychiatrist who's teaching about the power of the brain. He's right there in your neighborhood. Find out about him. There's Mindful Way Through Depression. That's Zindel Siegel and Mark Williams. Incredible research on depression and the power of your mind.
Wow. Thank you so much for being on the show. You were great, great, great guest. Thank you. We've got to move on, take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to ask the question, can depression be cured? Number one. And number two, can bullying lead to suicide? We'll be back. So what more?
That said that we're not allowed to accept prison labor produced goods, imported into the country.
Yo, what's up? What's up? This is Too Short, and you're watching T Radio V.
Do it.
If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight.
Fucker, you better do it. Do it. Do it now. No, I don't want to die. I want to live.
And so really, a satisfactory theory of the universe has to be one that's worth betting on. That's it seems to me, absolutely elementary common sense. If you make a theory of the universe which isn't worth betting on, why bother? Just commit suicide. But if you want to go on playing the game, you've got to have an optimal theory for playing the game. Otherwise, there's no point in it. But the people who coined the fully automatic theory of the universe were playing a very funny game. What they wanted to say was this: all you people who believe in religion are old ladies and wishful thinkers. You've got a big daddy up there and you want a comfort and thing, but life is rough. Life is tough. And success goes to the most hard-headed people. That was a very convenient theory when the European-American world was colonizing the natives everywhere.
They're almost universal, and it's just part of being human. So you stop being egoistically looking at it that it's just you and your trauma and your sad story and your this, that, and the other, and you see it as part of the human condition. Almost anything you look at, when you frame it differently, becomes just part of the condition of being human. At some time in your life, everything has seemed so dark, like you wonder if you could go on. And despair. So you hit the bottom of the box, almost as a test of your right to survive. It's almost like a challenge by your own soul. The dark night of the soul is really a challenge from and by your own soul to vindicate the value of your own existence to your own realization, the value of life and the gift of God.
In my chief work, I've explained the
We're back. Zoe What Morning Show. It's a very, very heavy show. And again, when we left, we asked if there is a cure for depression. And I'm going to be honest. As a black man in America, and I'm young, I got Uncle Bobby here. He got 20-some-odd years on me, and he has even more experience and wisdom on top of that. As a young African-American man, I've seen oppression leading to depression in our community. And what that means to me is either black people are hella suicidal or we're hella resilient for all of the stuff we've taken and we still shoulder. I'm seeing like how, but then again, I see the manifestations of the suicidal thoughts in the music. You look at Biggie, I'm Ready to Die. That's the first album. The second album, Life After Death, and many people in our community spoke and said he brought that death on himself because he magnetized and manifested through the words of his records. They said the same about Tupac. Do you understand? I believe that the power of our music and our creativity actually molds and creates reality around what we're saying and what we're following. Bobby?
You know, during the break I mentioned fatalism, and you just segued beautifully into my point of view on that, because a lot of times I've seen people, they call it suicide by cop when a cat just comes out like the guy did the other day in St. Louis and said, go ahead and shoot me, right?
And they said, much obliged.
Right. And,
right.
I see brothers do that all the time, man. They go up on cats who got a reputation for not being the cat that you start no fight with, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they all up on this cat like, hey, man, you know, it's like, whoa, man, you must really want to die today. Mm-hmm. So when you speak of the music and the mindset that has evolved over the last 25 years, that's a real serious problem right
There's
now,
disrespect in the music. There's, I'll put my gun in your mouth, bitch. We talking to another man. That perpetuates outward into the community. And as we said a couple weeks ago when we were talking about police brutality, we know there's a system of white supremacy. We know that there's a system of racism in place. But on top of that, the lack of knowledge of self has created a self-loathing that a lot of black people hold. So in a way, we're perpetuating a reality too because of the low-level beliefs that we hold about ourselves. Corey.
But the leadership in this country knows anger and depression will eventually destroy the human mind and body. That's why you're in the predicament you're in the United States, this so-called land of the free or whatever. If you go, I travel around the country. When I go around the Whole Foods,
how about it?
There's a different type of living surrounded by that Whole Foods.
Absolutely. Different energy, all of it.
I was in South Carolina this week. I went to Bi-Lo.
Bi-Lo.
That was the name.
The Piggly Wiggly?
That was the name of the food store. Bi-Lo.
It's a chain.
And
It's a chain.
I want to do it. Anybody else see this? I see that.
Right.
That's part of the depression right there.
When the blood in the meat you buying is brown.
It's not a coincidence. So like a guy like me, I really do. I try to be modest. I'm saying, but from what I see, I think I'm one of the guys who's harder to be broken than other guys. I got people in my family that, they are down because of the way things are in America. We need leadership to bring those people up because everybody's not strong. That's where the people become suicidal, the ones who are not as strong as the others who find a way to come up out that bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we need leadership to talk to them people.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like Barack.
Oh, there it is again.
Well, 300 is a collection of the strong.
Years ago,
Behar, and then Dr. G. Dr. G, make your point, and then Behar.
Years ago, there was a famous psychiatrist named Carl Menninger. He's a big suicide specialist. And one of the things that he talked about in suicide is that the desire to kill, the desire to be killed, and the desire to die. So when you have those three things going on, and they can take over different parts of your mind, when those three things go together, that's a recipe for suicide. But you can see how with the suicide by cop, they may not be able to kill themselves, but there is a desire to be killed and to die, to just be out of it, but they can't kill.
Wow.
They can't kill themselves.
Food for less is a form of suicide. We did that on the Killer Food Show.
It just takes 20 years for the bullet to get out the gun.
Right. But I believe pervasive, negative, I think it's called transactional psychology, where you have this loser script playing over and over in your mind. I believe that is a form of suicide. And I believe in our community, as long as we have, and I believe the 50 Cents and all of these dudes, they might be agents. So maybe a government guy called and said, okay, it's too much unrest in Missouri. Why don't you go at Mayweather? Why don't you do that?
Some puppeteering.
So we could have some other thing going on. Let's put Beyonce on stage for a mini concert on VH1 so we could distract the attention for what really needs to be happening, right? This is a moment in time where if suicide, and when I say suicide, I mean suicide from the space of strength, not from the space of escape and weakness. And we call it willing to die for something. If there was ever a moment, this is the moment that black people should coalesce and stand together and be willing to die for something more meaningful.
I don't even think you could call that suicide.
That's what they do.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
On some 300 type joint.
As a form of advocacy, as a form of activism. And I believe as a community, we lack that uniformity.
They're doing it in Ferguson, they just don't have the leadership.
I just want to kind of like bring it back to what you were saying, like the words we speak kind of create the outcome we have.
Whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove.
I believe in the light language, and the light language doesn't know race, creed, sexual identity. It just knows the soul's energy and its purpose and its life form. And that's not to say that it's not met without struggle. Listen, my mother was French. When she came here, if you spoke anything other than English, it was a hard ride. So I get part of the struggle. Not gonna lie, I'm a French woman, but I'm more Anglo-Saxon identified. So I don't have all those struggles, but I do date interracially and I have those struggles. And what I have to remind myself is what you think of me is none of my business. What my dialogue to myself is my business.
Absolutely.
And what I have to identify is when I stay in my light language and I recognize sound. In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and then we were. Then I create my outcome. So my visual can stimulate my words, and vice versa. I can live in a world that has a healthier environment.
You got to make it quick, Bob.
Yeah. That was a phrase many years ago. They said the blues ain't nothing but a good man feeling bad.
Ooh,
and
wow.
The reason that becomes an impression, that's a temporary condition. And when we talk about depression now, you can't talk about depression in 2014 without talking about medication. And if you look at these commercials very closely, most of the medication they'll give you for damn near anything has
Make
one
you
of the
wanna
side
kill
effects
yourself.
is suicide. We need to check that
Right,
shit, man.
Right, you right, Bobby. Yo, this is a very, very powerful show. We got where you can't hear the music because you don't have the headphones on. When the music is playing, we got to go to break. But we'll be right back, and we're coming right back with Miss Behar. Holla at you in a minute. Oh!
Fire like there was a fucking Marine, but you can't do nothing about it but sleep on. Sleep talk, bitch.
Afghan protesters marched through the streets of Kabul on Saturday in support of presidential candidate Abdullah Abdullah, who dropped out of the election race over allegations of mass fraud. Abdullah announced on Wednesday he had stopped working with the country's electoral bodies and asked them to stop counting votes, saying a continuation of the counting process would have no legitimacy. Protesters chanted, "Our vote was stolen, we want our vote," also calling for President Karzai to resign over the electoral controversy. Earlier in Kabul on Saturday, a suicide bomber targeted High Peace Council member Mohammed Masun Stanekzai, killing one civilian and injuring others. The council member escaped unharmed.
Young Tibetans play at school recess on a bright April day. They wear the traditional clothing of a homeland they have never seen. This is Dharamsala, India. Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, came here in 1959 with tens of thousands of followers and set up a de facto exile capital. The clothes and a stepped-up effort to speak Tibetan are part of White Wednesday. It mirrors a parallel movement of passive resistance in Tibetan areas under Chinese control. Lately, the children have also been learning about another kind of resistance by Tibetans who have chosen to set themselves on fire. In the past year, there have been at least 34 fatal self-immolations to protest Chinese policies.
Teacher Dolma Nima faces the challenge of teaching children why someone would take such a drastic step.
During our assembly, we show them the picture how the people have self-immolated, and when they see the pictures, they are emotional. It changes all of the expression. Some children are asking, "Oh, teacher, we have to do like this?" Like.
27-year-old Jampa Yeshi became the first in this year's series of self-immolations to take his life on Indian soil. He ran through the streets of New Delhi ablaze on March 26th, just days before the scheduled arrival of Chinese President Hu Jintao. Activist posters plastered around Dharamsala celebrate him as a martyr. Tenzin Chuk.
Hard to swallow.
Okay, I'm mad about Mike
but
Brown.
let me just say, hard to swallow. But follow me, follow. Dying for something. That's Tibet. That's our country. That's our culture. You took it from us by force. You pushed out our holy leader, the Dalai Lama. We're not happy. We're going to do something.
That's what they do in Afghanistan too. Suicide bombing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
So come back to America and look at America's most oppressed people.
You took my Jordans.
The black man.
Right.
And no, somebody told me something about this that was very interesting. Other African people in other parts of the world view American men and women as weak. Absolutely. Because we're assimilated into the oppressor's society. In other words, we'll take a lot, whereas they would have done something different a long time ago. These people are training the kids to set themselves on fire in protest of the oppression. What do? We live through double standards. We can look at a black man, look at another black man and say, "Fuck you, nigga, I'll take your bitch," right? That's one of what's the boy with the lazy eye that sing terrible? The young kid that's out right now, Trey Songz.
I was about to say, you got to be more specific with saying terrible.
I'm just saying, he got a record called. He's got a listen.
Yeah.
He's got a record called "Mr. Take Your Bitch."
Oh, man.
Mr. Take Your Bitch. So understand, music is the social game rules of how you interact. So if your records are saying, fuck you, nigga, I will kill you, nigga, give up the money and the baby and the number one mom pendant. Give me all of that. Give me the loot. The loot is more valuable than you, right? If we have that as the music, as the soundtrack, right? That means we're willing to die for nothing. At least those people are dying for something.
They dying for nothing too, though, because there's another option.
No, Bobby. No, they dying for something.
What is it?
Their culture.
Their cause.
Their cause, their belief, their country.
Okay.
And yes,
that's
we lack.
Okay. Yes,
it's extreme.
No
Absolutely.
shit. But here's my question. Here's my question.
They got another option.
To change, absolutely.
Sure they do.
Absolutely.
Kill
But
for
death
it.
is the one they
Kill
took.
for it.
Tell me.
Don't take that off the table.
Tell me what reason that you've ever heard, other than there go them niggas from Crenshaw, that you've ever heard that gangs kill each other for. A real reason.
Man, you talking about people that are broken. They have been here for so many years. The African American, the African American
You just
male.
lean back. Niggas, cause that
I
happened.
I thought we was just sitting around the crib for a second.
Speak on it, Corey.
No, what I'm saying is, like, I'm one of the first to admit African American people in the United States, for the most part, are broken.
Since we've
we
been called
try
that.
to fit into a society that is basically, they have no use for us. We built the country. Now they just really want us to get the fuck on.
The country's built.
And people
Right now
need
we
to,
carpet lint.
Right. People need to understand that. So when you try to fit and assimilate into that shit, you're really making a fool out yourself.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
Especially
damn.
that presidency shit. That
Dr.
was
G?
the worst.
I think it goes back to this nobody phobia that I mentioned. That I think there's a real pain to feeling like you're nobody and you're nothing. And I think especially for young males, because you feel so powerless. And when you feel like you're nobody and you're nothing, you start to get the appeal of I'm gonna be something. I'm gonna be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is you lose touch of the fact that you're even a living being. You're kind of like a thing.
But being somebody, according to someone else's definition, still renders you nothing, nobody, because you didn't define what somebody was to you.
Black males
Black
should be
men
taught.
are in pursuit of a definition
but
of somebody
but somebody-
that they didn't create for themselves.
But maybe
Black
somebody.
men in America should be taught that you've been conquered. And they need to be aware that what happened to you is somebody came and took you from your homeland and did something to you. And as years and years have passed by, this is what you've become. You become as you've been misplaced.
Behar Bobby.
Okay, so this is where we step in with the whole internal dialogue. So at some point, the whole story has to, by definition, to change in order for someone to actually step away from that. And it's so strong that individually we have to do something about that individually before collectively we can actually address a problem.
Bobby?
If you want peace, you have to prepare for war, and there's so many different elements of war.
Absolutely.
Now, the self-sacrifice,
Definitely a psychological war.
That's one aspect, but you got the same opportunity to say, look, before I give up my life, I'm willing to take the life of the person who put me in a position where I don't have any other options. You know, we don't talk enough about other options. Now, I'm not advocating going out and killing people, but before I kill myself, if I'm not the problem, I'm gonna take out the person that's the problem.
Okay.
Right.
I have a question. I'm sorry for your name.
Behar. It's Behar.
Oh,
Marie.
Then, yeah.
Okay.
But it was her turn.
That's why you went like this. That's why I said that mean anybody. This mean anybody. You can. Oh,
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right.
You just said not listening.
Well,
You said not listening.
I'm fine. I'm still holding on to the piece of taking a life before you'll take your own life and the value of that. The bartering of that is probably going to escalate into something that's non-productive. So at some point, we have to finally come to a place where there's a spiritual connection with ourselves, and that's going to make it even more distressing for us to actually take another life in order to have meaning in our life.
This is what I think that people always mistake me for as being racist when I say this, but I really wish that black people in America could be separated from everybody else and we were just all in our group, I believe it wouldn't take long for us to get our shit together. Us being mixed in with all of this shit that's going on, we'll never get back where we're supposed to be until we're away from the people that oppressed us in the first place.
I think that's a hell of an angle, but I'm gonna save it for my final thought, Bobby. That's a hell of an angle.
You know, and without being labeled a person that's bloodthirsty, because I've never killed anybody, but sometimes you got to leave that option on the table, especially in this culture where people, you know, have been conditioned to turn the other cheek and we shall overcome someday, and I ain't found it on a calendar yet. And as a result, we have developed this mentality as a people that we keep waiting on at someday, and then we get further and further in the hole, psychologically and physically.
Question for you: I saw that you were kind of in disagreement of that. One,
you hear the music though.
Can you name a change, a true significant change in society that did not involve violence? And two, you are sitting on the land that was built, predicated upon violence for change. I don't know if to include the death of Christ, I can't think of a true change without violence.
Now listen, when we come back, you're going to answer that question. Okay. All right? We got to take a quick break. You hear the music. We'll be back in 2.2 seconds. Zoe What Morning Show is always off the chart. Great panel, great information, great insight. We'll be back with more. Holla in a second.
When you get the call, when the person has the gun to their forehead, when they're indicating to you with no uncertain terms that they want to take their life. In this situation, we are all trying to accomplish one thing, to save lives. And then sometimes it's a very, very difficult thing to do. And sometimes it doesn't always work. What I want to do right now is I want to play an audio tape for you. Many times we get calls from family members. This is a young girl who has found her brother that has killed himself, that has shot himself. It's not easy, especially when we're talking about young people committing suicide and young people reporting suicide.
Emergency 911. Help me, my brother's dead. What's your name? Mickey. What do you mean by your brother's dead? He killed himself. How did he do it? With a gun. Okay, are you home alone? Well, I'm home alone with my sister. Okay, get someone here quick. Did you just find him, Nikki? Yeah, no, he's dead. Nikki.
After about an hour of speaking with Jason, he asked us if we knew the story of Pandora's box. Recalling your Greek mythology, Zeus created Pandora and sent her down to earth with a box and told her never, ever open that box. Well, one day, curiosity got the better of Pandora, and she did open the box. Out flew plagues, sorrows, and all sorts of evils against man. The only good thing in the box was hope. Jason then asked us, what happens when you open the box and hope isn't there? He paused a few moments, leaned to his right, and was gone.
Wake up, go to school, come home and go to sleep. Don't smile, don't laugh, and don't show emotion. Wash, rinse, and repeat. For 4 years, this was the cycle I operated in. The problem was that I was sick with depression. I thought my life was worthless, and I was sure they were all laughing at me. How could they not be? I remember one time I was smiling at people and they were smiling back. Then something just clicked. Their laughter was at me, not with me. I rushed home as quickly as I could and I just broke down. This was it. It was time to end it. Crazy thoughts ran through my head of how I could end my life. Suddenly it became real, and then I realized I had to stop what I was doing. I stumbled to my bed to rest. I did not want to die. I could see it was my depression that spawned those thoughts. Rationally, I knew they were ridiculous. I knew then that I needed help. We talked about ways I could really commit to beating this thing. It took a while, but I did get better. I still get depressed sometimes, and occasionally thoughts of harming myself come back. The thing is, I know how to deal with it now. It seemed hopeless at the time, but I'm really glad I didn't give up.
If you're actively suicidal and you have a plan, say to yourself, I don't want to die. I want the pain to die. And go get some help. Get on the phone and basically say, I'm having suicidal thoughts and I don't want to die. My brain is telling me to die. And that's the difference. And that's how you can save yourself. You can literally save yourself from killing yourself by knowing that these thoughts are real and that they are part of an illness, but you do not have to let them in your life and you don't have to act on them.
When I die, fuck it, I wanna go to hell. Cause I'm a piece of shit, it ain't hard to fucking tell. It don't make sense going to heaven with the goody goodies dressed in white. I like black Timbs and black hoodies, matter of fact. Sick of talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's show was The Dark Night of the Soul. It's part of the human condition. And if you understand it from a spiritual perspective, it can be very transformative. I think even in the Alcoholics Anonymous template, the 12-step template, you can't transform until you hit rock bottom. And a lot of times the dark night of the soul represents the bottom. Right? It's darkest before the dawn, right? Right before you transform into the person or being you're supposed to be, you have to go through the crucible. And the crucible takes on different forms for different people. You know, it could be tough, but it's part of the human condition. And I believe the old Baha'i faith concept of challenge is the conduit to growth. So it's a struggle, and all people go through it. But as I like to do on this show is to weave the black experience into it. And I'll say this, black people as a whole, we need to commit suicide. There are some thoughts and some beliefs that we hold on to with all our being that actually anchors us into a space of mediocrity, right? A belief of niggas ain't shit. Black people have that belief in great numbers. And as long as that's there, whatever the thinker thinks, the prover shall prove. I always say, if you hold a negative belief, you're actually a creator. Positive and negative thoughts are creative. So if we hold a low estimation of our own people, are we then not responsible for the interaction we experience with them? Black men think black women ain't shit. A lot of them do. Black women say, well, fuck y'all. Y'all didn't support us and y'all was bad to us, so we leaving now. These negative thoughts create a negative experience. So we need to actively create or actively commit suicide within ourselves. The negative beliefs, the BS, as Robert Anton Wilson so eloquently articulated. Belief system reduces down to BS. You got to know when your belief system is bullshitting you and creating a fucked up experience. Pardon my French. Please remember that it's not the issue that is your issue. It's how you respond to the issue that is your issue. I'm a broken, fucked up person at some times, in different times of my life. I've hurt people and I've helped people, right? I've lost people that I've really, really loved and it's been bad. But at the end of the day, I strive to learn and grow from every situation, right? So I urge the black people in our community to do the same. We must make forgiveness, respect, love, and self-knowledge our new religion. Only then can we control the narrative. We should be willing to die for the ownership of our narrative. I love Floyd Mayweather, but his narrative of success, he didn't create. 1950s narrative of success he didn't create. When you sit down and you look and think, wow, these dudes are made externally. They're made externally. The money is fiat. It's not even real money. Right? They're not even a part of the 1%. But they fucking measure their dicks against each other over something that the people who really control the world view as worthless. It's a biosurvival ticket that keeps you flowing through the system of control. Do you understand? I'll say more. Until we're willing to die over controlling our social narrative, we may never find true happiness as a people. The people devoid of meaning will die for anything. The people who are married to meaning will die for that meaning. I'm Zoe Williams, and that's my final thought. I really appreciate everybody for being here. Let's do this really quickly. Around the table. Websites, I want people to support you. This is a call to action. Everybody support everybody here. Bobby, your book.
Legacy, rest in peace, Daryl Smith, realmendon'tplay.com.
There it is.
Jeanette Marie, energyforthesoul.and-more.com.
Energyforthesoul.and-more.com. Corey, where are you, man? Where can they find you?
How can you excel as a country when the president and his wife think it's courageous to admit you like dick shoved up your ass?
And scene. Off the deep end, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mark Goulston.
We all need to just listen. Go to Mark
Exactly.
Goulston, markgoulston.com.
DrMarkGoulston.com. Jeff Brown.
Go get my ringtones on iTunes.
Oh, God. Jeff Brown's ringtones on iTunes. Yes.
All right, Lisa Bahar, lisabahar.com.
lisabahar.com. Go there now. You are awesome. And
Lori Carter from Juicy Juice in Carson. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And don't forget, please support WeJuice.com. Go there right now. And hey. Right? Hole in the Head. The incredible true story, Hole in the Head, a life revealed. If anybody could have killed himself for what he went through, being experimented on since he was 5 years old, and now he has a hole in his head, it could have been this dude. Go get this book right now by Wilbert Smith, PhD. And don't forget, The Rebirth of Seeds, final copies, my last box. Go there right now. I'm mailing out packages tomorrow. Go there right now, IamZoeWilliams.com. Appreciate you all. See you after the weekend. Holla! Woo!
You are watching T-Radio V, Radio and TV.